The Hoosier nest address of the carrier of the Indianapolis Journal, January 1, 1833. Compelled to seek the Muse's aid, your carrier feels almost dismayed when he attempts in nothing less than verse his patrons to address, aware how very few excel in the fair art he loves so well, and that the wight who would pursue it must give his whole attention to it, but, ever as his mind delights to follow fancy's airy flight, some object of terrestrial mien uncourteously obtrudes between and rudely scatters to the winds the tangled threads of thought he spins, hies wayward, wild imagination seeks objects of its own creation where joy and pleasure, hand in hand, escort him over fairyland, till some imperious earthborn care will give the order, as you were. From this the captions may infer that I am but a grovelling cur who would essay to pass for more than other people take me for, so, lest my friends be led to doubt it, I think I'll say no more about it, but hope that on this noted day my animal tribute of a lay in doggerel numbers will suffice for such as are not over nice. The great events which have occurred, and all have seen, or read or heard, within a year, are quite too many for me to tarry long on any, then let not retrospection roam but be confined to things at home. A 4 years' wordy war just or has left us where we were before Old Hickory triumphs, we submit, although we thought another fit for all of Jeffersonian school wished the majority to rule. Elected for another term we hope his measures will be firm but peaceful, as the case requires to nullify the nullifiers, and if executive constructions by inference prove the sage deductions that Uncle Sam's old mother bank is managed by a foreign crank and constituted by adoption the heir apparent of corruption, no matter if the facts will show that such assertions are not so, his veto vengeance must pursue her and all that are appended to her. But though hard times may sorely press us, and want, and debts, and duns distress us, we'll share a part of Mammon's manna by chartering banks in Indiana. Blessed Indiana, in whose soil men seek the sure rewards of toil, and honest poverty and worth find here the best retreat on earth, while hosts of preachers, doctors, lawyers, all independent as wood sawyers, with men of every hue and fashion, flock to this rising Hoosier nation. Men who can legislate or plow, wage politics or milk a cow, so plastic are their various parts, within the circle of their arts, with equal tact the Hoosier loons, hunt offices or hunt raccoons. A captain, colonel, or a squire, who would ascend a little higher, must court the people, honest souls, he bows, caresses and cajoles, till they conceive he has more merit than nature willed he should inherit, and, running counter to his nature, he runs into the legislature, where if he pass for wise and mute, or chance to steer the proper shoot, in half a dozen years or more he's qualified for Congress floor. I would not have the world suppose our public men are all like those, for even in this infant state some may be wise, and good, and great. But, having gone so far, 'twould seem, since Hoosier manners is the theme, that I, lest strangers take exception, should give a more minute description, and if my strains be not seraphic I trust you'll find them somewhat graphic. Suppose in riding somewhere west a stranger found a Hoosier's nest, in other words, a Buckeye cabin just big enough to hold Queen Mab in, its situation low but airy was on the borders of a prairie, and fearing he might be benighted he hailed the house and then alighted. The Hoosier met him at the door, their salutations soon were o'er, he took the stranger's horse aside and to a sturdy sapling tied, then, having stripped the saddle off, he fed him in a sugar trough. The stranger stooped to enter in, the entrance closing with a pin, and manifested strong desire to seat him by the log heap fire, where half a dozen Hoosieroons, with mush and milk, tin cups and spoons, white heads, bare feet and dirty faces, seemed much inclined to keep their places, but Madam, anxious to display her rough and undisputed sway, her offspring to the ladder led and cuffed the youngsters up to bed. Invited shortly to partake of venison, milk and Johnny cake, the stranger made a hearty meal and glances round the room would steal. One side was lined with skins of varmints, the other spread with divers garments. Dried mekins overhead were strung where venison hams in plenty hung, 2 rifles placed above the door, 3 dogs lay stretched upon the floor. In short, the domicile was rife with specimens of Hoosier life. The host who centered his affections on game, and range, and quarter sections discoursed his weary guest for hours, till somnus ever potent powers of sublunary cares bereft them, and then I came away and left them. No matter how the story ended, the application I intended is from the famous Scottish poet who seemed to feel as well as know it that Bordley Cheels and clever Hissies are bred in sic a way as this is. One more subject I'll barely mention, to which I ask your kind attention. My pockets are so shrunk of late I cannot nibble Hoosier bait.